New concerns: a northern front may be opening in the growing Middle East conflict as Israel responds to rocket fire coming from Lebanon. Meanwhile, Hamas stepping up its attack on major cities like Tel Aviv, putting millions in harm's way. And as the violence shows no sign of slowing down, how's the media treating Israel's response to the Hamas offensive? Let's talk about it now with Judith Miller, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter, author, and Fox News contributor. Hi, Judy. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
I want to talk about who you believe has the coverage skewed and which particular media outlet that might be, and why you think they have taken on that particular position.
Look, I think the Israelis at the moment are extremely upset about the coverage in the most influential American newspaper, which is the New York Times. There was a front page story this morning about extremism within Israel, Israel having to cope with right-wing extremism, which was pegged to the murder of the Palestinian 16-year-old, the kidnapping and murder. The story really didn't pay a lot of attention to the context, which was the Palestinian adolescent was kidnapped and murdered after 3 yeshiva students, aged 16 to 19, were apprehended, they were kidnapped, they were killed, and the kidnapping of the Palestinian was a response to that. So what's often missing in the context of this crisis is the context. And the Israelis were very upset about it. Ron Prosser, who is a diplomat here in New York, played for the UN Security Council an air raid siren so they could understand what it is to be given 90 minutes if you're in Tel Aviv or Haifa to seek shelter, or 15 seconds, 90 seconds or 15 seconds to seek shelter. And yet the coverage doesn't really reflect Israel's extraordinary patience until recently with the firing of rockets from Gaza into its own territory. Now Israel has been forced to respond, and the Israelis are upset at the coverage. I think this. There is a bias within the American press. There is a bias against Israel. It's more a bias that requires Israel to hold itself to a higher standard because Israel claims to. And by and large, the Israelis do behave better than the Hamas, which is an extremist terrorist organization, officially listed as a terrorist organization. So Americans expect more of Israelis.
So is that fair, though, when you put a legitimate administration up against a terrorist organization?
Well, I think you have to continue to tell the American people about what is not the same. The fact that the Israelis do not embed terrorists and rocket launchers within their civilian population. If more people in Gaza are being killed, it's because the Palestinians have deliberately put their own people at risk.
Let's talk about the administration. By the way, I know you're not justifying killing of any people.
No,
you're just talking
horrendous.
about the kind of keeping it in context as best someone could.
The context is crucial in this fight.
Right. Let's talk about the administration and how you see them, or the president and his folks, handling this and their support of Israel.
Well, normally the Israelis believe that the president has not been sympathetic to them and has not really asked the Palestinians to do what it's asked them to do, make the concessions. But in this instance, Arthel, I really think that they have stood up and said, the White House has said, people have a right to defend their homes and their territories. They have a right to fire back. I think where it's going to get dicey between Israel and the administration is if Israel decides that it has to send land forces into Gaza to clean out the Hamas rocket launchers. That would be a very long and a very difficult and a very bloody confrontation, and it would almost certainly upset the administration and elicit some criticism from the administration.
Well, meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying just this morning, about an hour ago, saying that he is not concerned about international opinion. He is going to protect his country, basically.
Right. He has to do that, and he has the support of the Israeli people along with him. But remember, if President Obama wants to be a mediator here, with whom is he going to mediate? He cannot talk to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization with whom we're not supposed to be speaking.
Yeah, because our president said he's willing to negotiate a ceasefire between the two sides. It's really convoluted, and it's a tough situation.
And this is the third of these intensive military exchanges into the past 5 years.
Got to go.